What's up guys, Chris here from MIXDOWN Online, and today we are going to look at adding punch to your drums using parallel compression. Alright, now if you're new here on this channel, consider subscribing and click the notification bell at the same time. And don't forget to like and to share this video. Okay, so now let's dive in. Now I'm into my Cubase session right now. I'm just gonna have you listen to the mix I'm starting to work on. Now, like the previous video, I only have the drums that are mixed, and all the guitars and bass vocals are not mixed yet. So let's have a quick listen. Now for the kick, if we look at the kick drum, I only have one track. I recorded that drum kit with only one microphone on the kick drum. So I added some samples just to complement the original kick. But the original kick sounds pretty good actually. Let's have a quick listen. Okay, my sample. Okay. And then I have my sub-kick sample. I'm just going to bring that louder so you can hear it. And that takes care of the bottom end. I really like the sound of that. But you have to be careful not to put too much. So this is a sample I recorded myself in one of my sessions from the, it was recorded with the Yamaha sub-kick, I believe. If you want to download that sample again, click on the link in the bottom below or right on top here. That is going to lead you to my website. This way you can download that sample and add it into your productions. So my main kick track here doesn't have any compression, and this is what I'm going to use to send to my parallel compressor. Now for the snare, same thing. I have one microphone on top and one at the bottom mic. And I have two samples as well. The sample number 2, actually, I'm only going to use it on a couple of parts during the song, and the other sample I have is another sample that I recorded myself, and I kind of like the sound of that one. So let me just have you listen to my main snare. Now that snare is gated if I listen to one of my samples. Okay, a bit more fat, so the blend with all of them. It's kind of cool. All right, so all of these are going into my main mix drum bus. And now if we look at the compressors, because none of these snare tracks has compression. Now I'm working with 2 compressors. So I have 2 FX channel tracks as compressors. So this is how I set that up. I created myself 2 FX channel tracks. So if you're in Cubase, just go into Project, Add Track, and then FX channel track. Create yourself 2. That's what I did. You don't have to, okay? But this is the way I did it. I'm using 2 different compressors to get 2 different type of sounds. Now, if we look at the first one, I have the Arouser, which is an emulation of the Distressor, made by the same company. But I call it the Distressor 2.0, so I might do a video on this one later on. It is a very powerful compressor. And I have the DBX 160 from UAD, which is a VCA compressor. Now this one is very special. It has a unique sound, to be honest, and this is why I use it on kick and snare, and toms as well. So what is going into these 2 compressors is the kick, but only that one track, okay, my original kick recording track, my snare, actually 2 of my snares, my original snare and one of my sampled snare, the one I sampled myself. Now the other snare sample has already compression on it, so I'm not adding more compression as it is, and same for one of the kick sample. Actually, the sub kick I'm not sending into the compressor, and my kick sample, I'm not sending this one to the compressor as well. It has already some compression on it. Then I have some toms. The toms as well are going into these two compressor tracks. So let's have a listen to the first compressor. Okay, it's a 6, 7, 8 dB of gain reduction, which is quite a lot. But as a parallel processing, it's okay. I kind of like squeezing things up just to get the tone out of that compressor. So just before going forward, I just want to explain to you why I use parallel compression. It's simply to get the full transients out of the snares and kick and toms. It does a better job than just having a high attack time. And the reason is very simple. The attack time setting it's the time basically it takes for the compressor to fully compress the signal depending on the settings you have. The minute you pass the threshold point, this is where the compressor kicks in. The attack time is only the time it takes for a full compression depending on your settings. So if I want to keep all of my transients, 100% of the transients of the snare, kick, and toms, I'm going to use parallel compression. I could use the same plugin as an insert and playing with the mix knob like we see right here. If we look at the arouser, we have the mix knob. And most of compressors has a mix knob, which is very practical to do parallel processing. Now, the reason why I don't do this in this particular mix is because I'm using two compressors as parallel processors. And if I was to use one compressor as an insert blended at 50%, that blended signal will be sent to the second compressor, and this is not what I want. I want to send a on-processed and on-compressed signal to these compressors. So that's why I'm using an effects channel track to insert these compressors and then send my signal that I want to compress into these processors. Okay, so that's the reason. Now, if we continue here and we just have a quick listen to the difference between both, we have the arouser, and I added a bit of EQ just to boost a bit the top end and the bottom here. All right. And the cool thing about the arouser, I have to show you this, is you have a saturation knob which saturates the compressed signal, and kind of like that. Adds a bit of character. I love this plugin. Now, the DBX, okay, this one is very particular. It is a unique type of compression. What I did on this one, just before we hit the compressor, I added the Devil Lock, which is, like it says, it's an audio level destroyer. That's simple, okay? So it destroys the sound. So I kind of destroyed the sound before hitting the compressor. So I used it at 50%, okay? So it added a bit of distortion, saturation and stuff. And then it goes into the compressor. And then this VCA compressor does the rest, does the job. And again, I added a bit of boost at the top and at the bottom. So if we listen in context, I'm going to mute these. I'm going to mute the music and only listen to the drums. So you get the idea. Now, what I like about using parallel compression is that I can keep the tone of the compressor as well. So I tone shape my sound. So that's why my settings, when we look at the DBX, for example, or even the arouser. So now on this one, on the arouser, there's a fast attack and I have a slower release. It's a 200 milliseconds of release. And now for attack and release on the DBX, this one is program dependent. So depending on the gain reduction, the attack and release time will change. Okay, so that's why this compressor is very musical. Now, I don't mind having a fast attack just because I have the uncompressed signal to blend with. Okay, so I get that compressed vibe that I like. So I over compressed stuff and I just blend that with the original signal. So I have the attack and the tone shaped compressed sound at the same time. So this is one big advantage of using parallel compression. So this is my take on how to add punch to drums using parallel compression. I hope that helps, and if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to share your own way of adding punch on drums, please leave everything down in the comments section below, and don't forget to share and to like this video. Again, if you're new here on this channel, subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Alright guys, so until next time, see ya!